Jan Michael Vincent, a huge star in the 1980s, and on the show Airwolf, has died, which is very sad news. Because of a terrible car accident in 1996, she talks in a rough whisper. It was Jan who hit the back of his girlfriend's car at this crossing. He was drunk. The newspapers had a great time. Jan broke his neck, and his voice cords were hurt. He used to make the most money as an actress on TV, earning $200,000 a show. But for a month, no one knew that Jan Michael Vincent had died. He lost his leg because it got sick. He lost his voice in a car accident caused by drunk driving. Because he abused them, his wives ran away in fear. It was almost over for the man who had worked with movie stars like John Wayne. He was poor and had been forgotten. It's the sad story that Hollywood doesn't want you to remember. His only goal these days is to stay sober. He used to be one of Hollywood's busiest stars. There's no reason for me to drink all my life. I mean, I need to be a drinker, but I don't need to be drunk all the time. Why were you so drunk? I like it. Jan Michael Vincent was born in Denver, Colorado on July 15, 1944. His family background is full of crime and violence. In California in the 1920s and 1930s, his grandpa Herbert Vincent was one of the most dangerous criminals in the state. Several bank robberies and plans to make fake money were led by him. Herbert was caught in Hanford in January 1932, along with Jan's uncle Gordon. They were caught robbing a bank and making threats against someone with a dangerous weapon. It was already 1931 when Clifford and Harold, two other uncles, were found guilty of robbing banks in Hardwick and Strathmore. A sheriff's officer in Tulare shot and killed another uncle named Hoy. He was wanted for robbery in Oregon. This is the world Jan was born in. He was born in Tulare on September 7, 1919, and his name is Lloyd Whiteley Vincent. He grew up in Hanford and didn't follow the same road as his family. Lloyd joined the U.S. Army in 1941 and flew a B-25 bomber during World War II. Lloyd was in battle while his family members were going to prison. Most of the guys in his family were already in jail when he was only 12. Lloyd met Doris Jane Pace, who was 15 years old at the time, in 1940. After a year, when she was 16, they got married in Denver. When the war was over, Lloyd trained as a painter and, with Doris, started a sign business in Hanford. The way Jan saw his father live was based on rules and routines. He later said that seeing Lloyd do what he was told made him deeply distrustful of people in charge. He thought that way all the time, and it showed up in many of the roles he played. Jan went to Ventura College after finishing from Hanford High School in 1963. He worked there for 3 years, but in his 4th year he quit. He didn't sign up. Instead, he went to Mexico with the $200 his folks gave him. His only goal was to surf and have fun. It wasn't free for long. He chose to join the California Army National Guard when he was old enough to be drafted in 1966. He worked as a chopper mechanic and served until 1971. This job would help him become an actor later on. After many years, he played Stringfellow Hawk, a chopper pilot on the TV show Airwolf. He didn't want to be in the military, but it taught him skills that made his most famous part seem more real. Jen was part of a strict system where everything he did was watched, just like his father. A chance event led to his first role as an actor. He was eating outside with his friend Timmy Dagwood one afternoon. Dagwood already had a few small parts in movies. A talent agent named Dick Clayton saw Jen and took notice. People knew Clayton for finding young guys who could become stars. He had worked with film stars like Rock Hudson and saw something in Jan. Jan didn't seem to care much about the business card he gave her. He put it down. He agreed to follow up because of Dagwood. Clayton thought Jan looked and seemed like James Dean. Along with Harrison Ford and Nick Nolte, he added him to his group of young stars. Jan wasn't very well trained, but he didn't need it. On screen, he looked naturally calm. Jan in 1967, Michael Vincent made his first movie. His name was given as Mike Vincent, and he played Tony Prito in The Hardy Boys and The Mystery of the Chinese Junk. The pilot was based on Book 39 in the Hardy Boys series. It showed the boys as they bought the Hai-Hao, a Chinese junk boat. There was a secret treasure in the boat, and 4 strange guys wanted it. Tim Matheson, Richard Gates, and Terry Garr were on the show and went on to become stars, but it was never picked up. When talent hunters saw Vincent, he had just finished his time in the National Guard. He could have started his job earlier with that part, but the pilot never aired again after its first run. He was in an episode of Dragnet in 1968 called The Grenade. In the movie, he played Rick Schneiderman, a high school student who escapes a terrible acid attack. The part was tough, and it showed that he could handle important material. In the same year, he joined Hanna-Barbera's kids show Banana Split's Adventure Hour. In the parts about Danger Island, he played Link Simmons. The show ran from 1968 to 1970 and was known for having a laugh track and a mix of live action and music animation. Vincent's performance showed that he could do drama as well as shows for kids. Journey to Shiloh, his first American movie, came out in 1968 as well. He played Little Bit Luckett, one of the 7 young Texans who were in a group known as the Concho County Comanches. During the Civil War, they went to Tennessee to fight for the South. The movie was directed by William Hale and was based on Will Henry's 1960 book of the same name. The cast was great, with James Caan, Michael Sarrazin, and Harrison Ford in one of his first parts. Vincent's figure didn't die in battle, but before they got to Shiloh, they got sick and died. The 101-minute movie was mostly about how young men who sought fame often died sad deaths. Until then, he had already worked abroad. In 1967, he played the lead role in the Mexican-American movie The Bandits, also known as Los Bandidos. He played Tay Boy Brown, one of 3 Americans caught up in France's work in Mexico. Robert Conrad helped write and direct the movie while he was off from his TV show The Wild Wild West. It was shot in Mexico in 1967 and starred Manuel Lopez Ochoa and Pedro Armendariz Jr. People in the U.S. didn't see the movie until May 1979. Vince was already a well-known star at that point. His big break came with Tribes, which aired on November 10, 1970. On that day, the Marine Corps turned 195 years old. Private Adrian is a peaceful hippie who is drafted and sent to boot camp, and he played that role. Gunnery Sergeant Drake, played by Darren McGavin, doesn't agree with his ideas on ending the war. There was a real feel to the movie, which was shot like a documentary. It came out more than 10 years before Full Metal Jacket and An Officer and a Gentleman. In Europe, the movie was later shown under the name The Soldier Who Declared Peace. He played the lead role in The Mechanic with Charles Bronson in 1972. Steve McKenna, played by Vincent, is a young hitman who is trained by Bronson's character, Arthur Bishop. The original plot had a love story between the two, but it had to be cut to get the money to make the movie. Because of this, George C. Scott turned down the part. At first, Richard Dreyfuss was cast as Steve, but in December 1971 he was changed. The movie started with a 16-minute scene with no talking. Vincent's character drugs Bronson, but Bronson sets off a car bomb that kills him. He played the lead role in Buster and Billy, a sad love story set in Georgia in 1948. In 1974, he played Buster Lane, a star athlete in high school who falls in love with Joan Goodfellow's character, Billy Joe Trueluck, a shy girl from a poor family. She had been used by his friends before. They rape and kill her when she turns them down later. Buster gets back at them by killing 2 of them. Pamela Sue Martin played Buster's fiancée Margie in the movie. It was one of the first American movies to show a man fully naked on the front. It was directed by Daniel Petrie. Atlanta, Georgia is where it was filmed. People in the area were excited about the show, but they weren't ready for how dark it would be. Then in 1975, he was in White Line Fever as Carol Joe Hummer. The movie came out right after the 1973 and 1974 truck strikes. Vincent played an ex-Vietnam vet who bought a truck and tried to start a good business. His truck was called the Blue Mule, but the business was run by a shady group known as the Glass House. They wanted him to move goods that were illegal. When he said no, they fought back. Someone beat him up, put a rattlesnake in his truck, and then blamed him for murder. He drives the Blue Mule through a huge 2-story glass sign in the last scene. It was a real trick that became one of the most famous car crashes of the 2000s. The movie was directed by Jonathan Kaplan, and Vincent played a full-on lead role. Some people talked a lot about Jan Michael Vincent in Hollywood in the late 1800s. He was in the movie Hooper with Burt Reynolds in 1978. He played a young star on the rise named Ski Shidsky in the movie about stuntmen. He drove through fire and glass to show how strong and fearless he was. Reynolds played an older stunt planner who was having a hard time keeping up. The two figures pushed each other to do more dangerous and big stunts. In one scene, there was a 224-foot free fall. A rocket car flew over a 325-foot gorge at the end of another. The company was worried that the characters wouldn't make it through that jump because it looked so dangerous. Vincent's part made the movie exciting. Reynolds was tired and experienced, just the right fit for his speed and strength. Vince played Matt Johnson in Big Wednesday that same year. The story took place between 1962 and 1974 and was about surfing. There were three close friends in the movie, and Vincent, Gary Busey, and William Catt played them. They grew up on the beach, but when the Vietnam War started, their lives changed. The person in Vincent's story was the best surfer in town, but they were also having the most trouble. Malibu's Surfrider Beach was used to film the movie. It had long, quiet scenes of waves, bonfires, and late-night talks. Big Wednesday is the name of the big wave that ends the story. Vince later played in Vigilante Force with Chris Christopherson and Victoria Principal 2 years later, in 1976. The story took place in a small town in California where oil workers made a lot of trouble. Vincent played a guy from the area named Ben Arnold, who asked his brother Aaron to help keep things in order. Aaron was a hero of Vietnam, and Christopherson played him. It got as hot as 108 degrees while the movie was being filmed in Simi Valley in just 30 days. George Armitage, the director, said that the names of the characters came from real people. Patrick Arnold gave birth to Ben Arnold. Aaron came from Aaron Burr. Armitage also said that the movie gave people a new way to look at the Vietnam War. He asked how people in the United States would feel if they were invaded in the same way that other countries had been. The team behind the scenes included Sissy Spacek, who would go on to win an Oscar, who worked as an assistant art director. Vincent worked with Kim Basinger in the 1981 movie Hard Country. He played the lead role in Raw Nerve with Tracy Lords in 1991. He made the Deadly Avenger in 1992. He played a part in Deadly Heroes in 1993. The last one was in 1996. A lot of these movies went straight to video. Audience hardly paid attention to them. He wasn't a star by the end of the decade. In Hollywood, no one remembered his name. Jan Michael Vincent got married to Bonnie Poorman in 1968. He was still pretty new to acting at the time. He had just started getting parts in movies like The Undefeated and Journey to Shiloh. He was having a good time. He was pretty young and got big quickly in Hollywood. He played the lead role in The Mechanic in 1972. His next role was as the hero in Disney's The World's Greatest Athlete the following year. Joanne and Jan had a girl in 1973. His public image and job were both getting better. In the 1978 movie Big Wednesday, about a surfer, he gave one of his best performances. Though his work was getting better, things were going badly in his personal life. Jan was arrested 3 times for having cocaine between 1977 and 1979. Things got worse over time with the problem. His actions became less steady. It changed his work and his home life. He and Bonnie stayed married for years after the problem started, but the damage kept getting worse. In 1986, they finally got a divorce. He got married again that year, this time to Joanne Robinson. He got married to Joanne right around the time that his business took a big turn for the better. He lost his hit TV show, Airwolf, in 1986. He had more and more drug troubles, which was one reason for the cancellation. Even worse was what happened next in his personal life. Later, Joanne Robinson said that their relationship was scary and violent. She asked for a divorce in 1998, after being married for 12 years. A protection order was also asked for. They got their wish, and Jen was told she couldn't come within 300 yards of their Malibu house. In her court document, she talked about a routine of abuse that began in 1985. She said John hurt her badly and broke her bones. She said that the abuse didn't happen just once, but for years. At that time, Jan's friends said he was scary when he was drunk or high. Joanne says the abuse was more than just physical. One of the most upsetting things about what she said was that she said she was sexually forced to say something. She said that Jan made her sleep with him and his friends. She said it happened more than once while they were married. These stories were true. They were formal charges written down in court papers. It was already getting worse for Jan's job at that point. He went from making big movies to making low-budget movies like Animal Instincts in 1992 and Deadly Embrace in 1989. In 1995, there was another woman who came forward with tough charges. Lisa Marie Cifulo, who was 33 years old and used to be a model, had lived with Jen. She said he beat her up while she was pregnant with his child after they broke up. She told him that he kicked her so hard in the stomach that she lost the baby. She went to court that same year. Jen was supposed to defend himself in court, but he never showed up. Because of this, a judge gave a default ruling. He told Jen to pay $374,000 for the damage. Lisa said she couldn't work after the attack. This took place during a rough time in Jen's life. At 4:30 p.m. on August 26, 1996, John Michael Vincent was driving through Mission Viejo, California. He was 52 years old. Nicole Wallace, his girlfriend, was ahead of him in a 1985 Cadillac. Inside were her two young boys. They were on their way to see her mother. Vincent was driving his 1988 Mazda when it hit the back of her car at the corner of Finisterra and Alicia Parkway. His car went off the road and hit a traffic light. He had a broken neck and was taken to Mission Hospital Regional Medical Center. This man had 0.18% alcohol in his blood. The allowed limit in California was 0.08%. The crash wasn't a mistake. It was caused by drinking and using drugs for a long time. To keep him alive, the paramedics put a breathing tube down his throat. Vincent later said that this process was done wrong. He got sick during it. His vocal cords were hurt by the force of the puking. After that, he only spoke in a harsh voice. His singing never got better. He went to court against the Orange County Fire Authority in 1997. He said that the sore throat kept him from getting acting jobs. His job was already going less quickly, but this made things even worse. Not as easy to get roles. The directors could not clearly hear him. His once strong screen personality was now just a weak voice and a body that was easy to break. It had been more than 10 years since the crash when Vincent went on the TV show The Insider on September 18, 2007. He said he couldn't remember the crash when asked about it. He said, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't remember being in a crash. People were shocked by what happened. It was a sign of how badly his mind had changed. His memory was getting worse. The years of drug abuse and possibly brain damage from the crash had done their damage. In 2012, when he was 67 years old, he had another health problem. The skin on his right leg got sick. Poor blood flow to the extremities caused it. He told the National Enquirer in 2014 that the pain was very bad. My leg illness got worse over time. It felt like someone beat me with a whip. There was nothing the doctors at Central Mississippi Medical Center could do. They cut off most of his right leg to save his life. He said he passed out during the worst part. When he woke up on a respirator, his leg was gone. After a month, he got another illness. They had to cut off even more of his leg. Anna, his wife, said that doctors told him he might not make it. He learned how to use a prosthetic, but he was in a wheelchair for most of his last years. His body was giving out. His memory was messed up. His voice was almost gone. Jan Michael Vincent passed away at Mission Hospital in Asheville, North Carolina, on February 10, 2019, after having a heart attack. 74. His death record said he was 73 years old. It was a natural cause. A body search was not done. His body was burned. He died in a quiet way for someone who used to get paid per episode of Airwolf. It wasn't talked about until almost a month later. TMZ first reported the news on March 8, 2019. The wait was strange. The Associated Press said it wasn't clear why it took so long. Vincent or his wife could not be reached by reporters. The Los Angeles Times didn't say he was dead until they got the death record from Buncombe County. This delay showed how out of favor he had become. He was a star when he was at his best. He was good-looking, talented, and successful in the 1970s and 1980s. It was 1972 when he was in The Mechanic and 1978 when he was in Hooper. He was one of the best-paid actors on TV from 1984 to 1986 when he played the lead in Airwolf. As time went on, though, he lost control. He fell because of his addiction, accidents, and sickness. By the end, he was living in North Carolina, away from the attention of everyone. His death was the end of a life that had been full of both hope and pain. It wasn't a big goodbye he left behind. It was a quiet death that left behind a legacy shaped by both fame and tragedy.